So the first thing that I want to do is I really just kind of want to go through a PowerPoint presentation to sort of set up what you're going to receive with the Smart Money Kit and with that whole kit that goes along with it. And basically what you'll see here is, like, we call this the credit repair secrets. And the program that we have that does all the training is known as the 750 credit plan. So inside of Smart Money is the 750 credit plan. There are two other additional modules inside of Smart Money Kit, the 750 monitoring as well as income shifting. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on as we get through this. But here's what you need to understand. You know, whether bad credit is new to you or has been dragging you down for years, this really can be your year to change things around. And so it doesn't matter who you are, your credit can take a hit. And I will tell you that my credit took a big hit because I had to make some hard choices and some hard decisions. And I went from around about a 780 down to about a 550. I stuck my head in the sand, like most people. You know, you have trouble and you stick your head in the sand and you just don't know how to recover from that. But here's what I want to tell you. As long as you have the motivation, we can guide you through the process and we can get you out of that situation. It took me about a year and a half to go from a 550 back up to a 718, and things are just getting even better. So what we want to do is we want to give people we want to give them the ability to learn for themselves on how to pull themselves out of the muck and actually continue to go. So what I want to talk about, first of all, is how long does this stuff stay on your credit report? So accounts paid as agreed. That's the good stuff. The good stuff stays on your credit report 10 years. Bankruptcy, 10 years. Now, there's a caveat to that. Chapter 7 stays on your credit report 10 years. Chapter 13 stays on your credit report 7 years. Collections, judgments, late pays, paid tax liens are all 7 years, and unpaid tax liens stay on your credit report indefinitely until you actually pay that credit off. But you don't have to be tied down to a 7-year sentence. You can actually repair your credit and be on your way in less than 7 years. So we're going to talk about that just for a moment. Now, if you understand our business always talks about strategy. We are basically teaching people investment strategies. We teach them personal financial strategies, and your credit repair has a strategy. Now, if you go out and you buy credit repair from a credit repair company, typically what they're going to focus on is one thing. They're going to focus on removing negatives from your credit score. And the reality is that negatives, which is what we call payment history, counts for 35% of your credit score. And that is a huge chunk. Matter of fact, that's the largest chunk that affects your credit score. But it's not the only thing that affects your credit score. There's 65% of other things that affect your credit score. So if you only focus on the 35% and you miss out on the other 65%, you really miss out on getting your credit fixed faster and getting your score done quicker and going and having it raised faster than you do if you just focus on this 35%. Because I will tell you, as we get through this process, there's only 3 ways to remove negative items from your credit report. And some items you just won't be able to remove. That's right. Some items you're just not going to be able to remove. But no worries, because we're going to focus on not only the 35% of your payment history, but we're going to look at the other 65% of those areas that you can use to increase your score. So here's the thing that we always talk about. Knowing your credit score won't do you a whole lot of good when it comes to credit repair. What you need to know is you need to know the things that affect your credit score, and that means looking at your credit report. So that's the first thing that you want to do, is you want to go out and pull your credit report. Now, in our Smart Money Kit, we're going to show you how to go to annualcreditreport.com, how to pull that credit report, and you'll be able to access Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Those are the 3 large credit bureaus that are out there that house your credit report. You're going to want to look at each one of those bureaus because they each contain different information. You may have to challenge some of that information on those credit bureau reports, but you won't know what to challenge until you pull the credit report. Now, the Fair Credit Reporting Act gives you 1 year, a free annual credit report each year. So you get a free credit report each year through this website called annualcreditreport.com. And we cover that in our Smart Money Kit. Now, as you're actively involved in repairing your credit, you want to be able to monitor and see what is happening with your credit score. So you're typically going to need some type of credit monitoring. And a lot of times what happens is when you are paying a credit repair company, they're going to have you sign up for some type of credit monitoring company so that you can actually see the results of the work that is being done on your credit report. And so what we've done is we've also included inside of our Smart Money Kit, we've included something called 750 monitoring. And 750 monitoring basically monitors your credit report, it monitors your credit score, monitors everything that goes on with your credit. Now, here's the nice thing about the 750 credit monitoring. You can order 6 months of 750 monitoring and get credit monitoring for $23.95. That's one time. That's not per month. Now, that's huge because most credit monitoring services out there are about $30 to $50 a month. You can get 12 months of monitoring for one-time payment of $34.95. So it's pretty amazing to be able to get this type of pricing on monitoring. So for less than $3 a month, you could have 12 months of monitoring for $34.95. Now, you also have the opportunity to pull credit scores and credit reports at any time. So remember, that first credit report is free, but if you need to pull a credit report later on and you need to do it within that year, you can get one credit report with scores for $4, or you can pull all 3 credit reports with 3 scores for $8. Again, a very great price. Most credit bureaus are going to charge you somewhere between $8 to $9 per credit report. So this is a fantastic cost, a fantastic price for those that are wanting to monitor their scores. And I truly believe that you should be monitoring your credit as you're working on improving it. So let's get in and let's talk about, once you pull that credit report, what are you looking for? You're looking for derogatory items that are on your credit report. And not only do you want to look for those items, but then you want to mark and rank those items that you want to dispute. So see, everything that's on your credit report is not equal. You have bankruptcy and credit inquiries. Credit inquiries have the least type of negativity on your credit report. Bankruptcies have the most. So what you want to do is you want to focus on those items that are hurting you the most. That's where you're going to see the big numbers move. And then you just move your way down. Do we want to remove inquiries? Absolutely. Inquiries will probably shave off about 5 points here or there. But we definitely want to take care of bankruptcies, foreclosures, repossessions. And the way that I have them listed here in the presentation shows you the hardest hitting ones down to the least hitting ones. Also, one of the other things that you need to know is that you want to take care of those items that are 2 years or younger, because the items that are older than 2 years, they start to have less of effect on your credit score. So the newer items that are on your credit score have the biggest impact. Now, I need you to remember all of these things, because as we start talking about strategy, you need to understand that we're going to focus on the new derogatory items that are on our credit. We're also, later on, we're going to start getting some new credit and rebuilding credit. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us some good credit on the front end of those 2 years. So remember, less than 2 years old, that's important. Any credit that you have, any negatives that you have that's less than 2 years old, that's hurting you the most. But you can also replace that with some positive credit, and that positive new credit will help you. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to those, we want to pay attention to those strategies. Now, when you dispute items on your credit report, basically there are 4 letters that you can send. Now, before I get into the letters, let me just talk about, there's only 3 ways to remove things from your credit report. The first way is if the item that's on your credit report is just absolutely wrong or incorrect. If you got something that's on your credit report that does not belong to you, that's incorrect. You need to fight that. We need to get that removed. And that can happen. That can easily happen. We all have similar names to other people. My father and I have shared the same name. And so sometimes you'll see stuff that's on your credit report that's just not yours. So you can remove negatives, or you can remove inaccurate items that's on your credit report. The second way that you can remove items on your credit report are things that have passed the expiration date. So remember, 7 years for most things. If you've got something on your credit report that's past the 7-year expiration, that item can be removed off of your credit report. And then the third way, this is the way that most people are going to have to deal with, is what I call technicalities. Technicalities. So what I mean by technicalities is that what's on your credit report and being reported on your credit report might indeed be true. It might indeed be true. And if that's the case, what we're going to do is we're going to try to get that item removed off of our credit report based on a technicality. Now, here's the technicality. There is a Fair Credit Reporting Act handbook that talks about the laws of what can be on your credit report and how the credit bureaus are supposed to handle your credit reports. And one of the things that they say is that a credit bureau is supposed to verify that this debt is indeed yours. And that verification means that they need a copy of the original signed contract that you had when you entered into agreement with that creditor. We know that 99% of the time, the credit bureaus do not have that signed agreed contract. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dispute based on a technicality. So the first dispute letter is what's known as a verification letter. And what you want to do is you just want to have the credit reporting bureau verify that this debt is yours. And so with that one letter, you'll send that letter out to the credit bureaus. And then what they normally do is they send out a electronic message to your creditors. It's on a system called eOscar, and it asks the creditors if this is indeed your credit or your derogatory item. And the creditors will typically respond back with yes. And so then 30 days later, you get a letter from the credit bureaus that say that this debt has been verified. Well, the problem with that is that they have not verified the debt according to what the law says that they're supposed to verify the debt. So then we move into the second letter, which is a letter called Method of Verification. This letter asks the credit reporting agencies to verify to send you how they verified the debt in the first place. Who did they talk to? What was the phone number? What department did they call? They're supposed to verify that. If they do not send that verification back to you, you send a third letter which says you have violated the Fair Credit Reporting Act rights that I have. And so you're asking them to remove the item because they cannot prove that they verified this particular item properly. And then the final letter that you can send is an intent to litigate, basically saying, I'm ready to take you to court because of the violation of my credit rights. And so we've got 4 letters that you send out. There's also something called a goodwill letter. A goodwill letter is used differently because this is used for people who have always paid on time, but for whatever reason, maybe you went on vacation, you forgot, you went out of town, and you missed the payment. You can send a goodwill letter to your creditor asking for forgiveness and asking them to erase that negative mark on your credit report. Now, a goodwill letter only works for people who honestly pay on time and just made a mistake. If you have not paid on time and you're habitually late, that goodwill letter is probably not going to work for you. The final letter that you have is a pay for delete. This is typically sent to collection agencies where they've bought your debt for pennies on the dollar and you just want to get this off your credit. You can send a letter to them where you agree to pay a certain amount and they agree to accept that amount, but part of that agreement states that they must delete the negative remark off your credit report. So we have all of these letters that have already been written for you. They're template letters. All you have to do is put your information in and send this off to the credit reporting bureaus. Now, one of the things that's important is you got to track all of this. So we have, you want to send your disputes via certified mail. Now, the credit bureaus have gotten slick. You can actually dispute online if you choose to. But if you choose to dispute online, you waive some of your rights, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And so we don't want to waive any of our rights. So we want to dispute via certified mail. And you want to have a return receipt. The return receipt lets you know that the credit bureau has received your letter, and then your rights say that they have 30 days to respond. So you want to make sure that you're tracking that, because you can, again, get off on the technicality that they did not respond within the 30-day period. So you want to keep track of everything that you're sending out. Now, what we just talked about is removing your negatives. That's 35%. But there's another 65% of things that you can do that affect your credit. One of the other biggest things that affect your credit is this thing called credit utilization. And basically what you want to do is you want to be able to pay down your debt so that your credit utilization is under 30%. So let me give you an example of credit utilization. Let's say that you have $10,000 of available credit. And of that $10,000 of available credit, you've maxed out $9,000 of it. You're using $9,000. So your credit utilization is 90%. Your credit score is going to take a hit because your credit utilization is so high. What we want to do is we want to get that debt down to $3,000 or less, and that's going to bring us down to 30% or less. Now, this is where we come in and we teach a strategy called income shifting, because income shifting is going to help you find some extra cash flow, and it's going to show you how to eliminate your debt using our debt elimination software inside of the Smart Money Kit. So we teach you this strategy on how to bring in more income into your home. We show you how to take that income and that cash flow, and we're going to use that cash flow to go into our debt elimination software, and we're going to snowball that debt so that we quickly get our credit utilization down below 30%. When you do that, you will immediately see a bump in your credit score. Now, credit utilization is something that you can control. We can't control whether or not they remove the negatives or not. We're going to fight that. We're going to try to get the negatives removed. But while we're fighting to get the negatives removed, we're also going to be reducing our credit utilization. We all have the power to reduce our credit utilization. So credit utilization counts for 30% of your credit score. So I want you to think about that for a moment. Credit history accounts for 35% of your credit score, your payment history. Credit utilization accounts for 30%. So it is almost as powerful as getting things removed off of your credit. Now, this is where the credit repair companies don't have this system set up, because all they focus on is that 35%. We're going to focus on that 35%. Now we're going to focus on this 30% to reduce our credit so that we can have our credit utilization down below 30%. And we've got debt elimination software to do that. The next thing is, when you take care of these negatives on your credit report, they're only going to get you so far. So what we want to do is we want to continue on that chart to do other things that impact our credit score. So how do we do that? We can add new credit to our credit score, our credit report. So remember, I told you that the credit report is really looking at the last 2 years of things that you've done. So if you got negatives within the last 2 years, you want to get rid of those, but you also want to put some new credit in there within the last 2 years. And so oftentimes people will say, well, how do I get credit if my credit is already bad? And so we talk about how to rebuild credit. There's things like secure credit cards, secured installment loans. We've got a company that's listed in our Smart Money Kit that will actually show you where you can go. There's a company that will actually take $500, put it into a CD, freeze the CD, and then you pay $25 a month on it until you've paid the $500. They will then unfreeze the CD, give you the $500, and they will have reported your credit over that period of time. So that's an easier loan to get because the bank is not risking any money because the money is already in the bank's hand. They have frozen the account. You can't touch it. You can't pull it out until you actually pay on it. So that's a rebuilder program that allows you to rebuild your credit. And then authorized user. If you know someone that has a credit card that has been paying on that credit card, never been late on that credit card, has long history, what you can do is you can ask that person to list yourself as an authorized user. They don't have to give you the credit card. You don't have to use the credit card. All you want to do is you want to be listed on that credit card as an authorized user. And then what happens is you basically get their credit from that credit card. So you assume the credit history from that credit card. So if it's a credit card that this person has had for 20 years, now you've got 20 years of credit history, on-time payment on that particular credit card. And an authorized user is really great. We see a lot of families that use this. We see parents that use this with their children. You want to check your credit mixture. Here's what credit mixture is all about. You can't have just one type of debt or loan. You got revolving debt and you have installment debt. And so what your credit report says is that you should have a mixture. You should have some revolving debt and some installment debt. So what that basically means is you should have some credit cards. You should have maybe a car loan, a mortgage, or something like that, an installment debt, so that the credit bureaus can see that you can handle all different types of debt. And then the final thing is challenging some of these hard inquiries. Now remember, the hard inquiries, they're only about 5 points that really, shave off on your credit report, but 5 points is 5 points. And so what hard inquiries are is when you actually go out and apply for credit, the credit bureaus or the creditor that you apply for that credit from will do an inquiry on your credit report, and that shows up. And so if you have a lot of inquiries in a short period of time, it can really, really damage your credit. And so what we do is we have letters that help you remove these inquiries from your credit report. All right. So once you start this process, the key is just to be patient and just stick with the process. Don't give up, because the first letter that you send, you might get 1 or 2 items removed, but maybe not all the items removed. So you're going to have to go through that process, and you may have to go through all 4 letters, but go through the process, exhaust the process all the way through. Now, if you have some things on your credit that you know are not yours, and you're still struggling to get those things off, you might want to seek the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You might also want to contact a credit attorney, okay? If you've got some items that's on your credit report, you know that they're on your credit report, what we try to do is get off on a technicality, and sometimes we just can't get off on that technicality. Then, we just keep moving on, and we start rebuilding our credit and start fixing our credit from that end of having more good credit on the front end. And so those are things that you want to take a look at. So here's the final summation of what we have talked about. You want to rebuild your credit while you're disputing the derogatory items. So the dispute process typically takes anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 months, because you're going back and forth. You're sending letter 1, you got to wait 30 days. That comes back, you send letter 2, you got to wait 15 days on letter 2. That comes back, you got to send letter 3. So you could be in this process 3 to 4 months of disputing and trying to get the negative items off your credit report. So while you're doing that, you also want to be rebuilding your credit on the front end as well. So note that you may not remove all of the negatives. And see, some people get so fixated on trying to remove the negatives that it's not worth it. Make sure that you are utilizing all of the strategies, not just one of the strategies, which is just removing the negatives. Also, you got to start good habits. Pay your current debts on time. Your credit will improve over time, and just keep monitoring your credit. Here's what I will tell you. A person that starts working on their credit today, a year from now, they will see a significant improvement on their credit. I promise you that. They'll see a significant improvement on their credit a year from now. So what I want to do right now, Cortez, is I'm going to come out of this presentation, and I want to actually show the people the actual Smart Money Kit. I'm going to run through that very, very quickly so they can see that. The Smart Money Kit is a kit that offers 3 things here. We offer the 750 credit plan. The 750 credit plan is basically our do-it-yourself credit repair training. Then we have the 750 monitoring. That's where you monitor your credit. And then we have our income shifting strategy that shows you how to reduce your debt, do a debt elimination. And so we've got some tools there. I'm going to go inside of the 750 credit plan so that you can actually get a chance to see what it is. Inside of the 750 credit plan, there are 10 modules that are here, and each module will cover some aspect of credit repair. And I got to tell you, I've been very thorough with this thing. If you go through this thing, you probably will know enough about credit where you could actually start your own credit repair agency. And I'm sure I've got some people that have actually gone through it and can testify of how thorough this is. So we've got the introduction to the 750 credit plan. We'll just click in through this, and this is going to take us to the first lesson plan. We've got this thing laid out really, really nice, where there's a progress bar. It shows you what your progress is within the system. It also has a time. This 12 minutes and 57 seconds is how long the videos are on this particular module. And so you'll see that there's a video here. There's some downloads that go with the video. I've got the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You really need to download that because that's the law. That's the credit reporting law. You need to know what the law is. You need to know what the credit bureaus can and cannot do. How credit scores are calculated. We talk about how the credit scores are calculated. Remember, there are 5 components to your credit scores: payment history, credit utilization, length of credit, new credit, and credit mix. And then I've got some information where you can download some information here as well. Credit scoring brochures, but I got to tell you, one of my favorite is this one, Understanding FICO Scores. There are 7 different FICO scores out there. So everybody thinks that you wonder why credit is so confusing. There's 7 different FICO scores. So if you apply for a mortgage, the score that you apply for a mortgage with might be dramatically different than the score that you apply for a car loan with. Because those 2 scores, even though they may be FICO scores, they're 2 totally different FICO scores. So understanding FICO scores, this really talks to you about the FICO scores and what's going on. When you get down to the bottom of a lesson, you can go to the next lesson just by clicking on the button. Again, we are charting our progress and we go through our lessons. There's more downloads that are available to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to module number 5. And module number 5 is where we talk about how to remove negative payment history. Here's the nice thing about module number 5. Once you go through that video, you'll see that there's some letters here. I have these letters that are called 609 dispute letters. Basically what a 609 letter is, it's called 609 because when you look at the Fair Credit Reporting Act, in section 609, it says that the credit bureau has to verify your debt. And so the 609 letters are used to dispute the section 609 part of the law in the Fair Credit Bureau or in the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And so if you click on this letter here, I'm just going to open this up real quick for everyone to see. We made it very, very easy. I give you some instructions on how to dispute. And then below that, we have letters. And all you do is you replace the highlighted red with your own information. We've got the letters. You put in your creditors with the account numbers that you're disputing. And you sign it, you get it notarized, and you send that letter off. If that letter doesn't work, you got dispute letter number 2, and we do the same thing. Dispute number 2 is a different letter, and you go through that letter, and you go through that. You go through dispute number 3. So we've got all of the letters there for you so that you can address getting your credit fixed. Now, we also have how to remove IRS tax liens from your credit report. So the IRS has a special program. If you pay your tax lien, you can now remove that off of your credit report. You don't have to wait 7 years. So we teach you the process of how to do that. If you've got some medical collections, there's something really easy on removing medical collections. And it's basically based on the HIPAA laws. With the HIPAA laws, they can't know about your medical history. You only are allowed to share and it's not that you're only allowed, but that you have to sign to have your history released, your medical history released. And so there's sort of a backdoor approach of removing medical collections. And so we've got that there. And so Goodwill letters, we got copies of Goodwill letters that you can download. Pay for delete letters, we've got pay for delete letters that you can actually download, the whole gamut. And then once we get to actually lowering your credit utilization, we talk about reducing your credit card debt via income shifting. I'm going to go over here to the income shifting module so that you'll see it just for a moment. We teach people how to find additional cash flow in their household using something called the W-4 adjustment. We teach you how to adjust your W-4, and then we teach you how to minimize expenses. We've got a calculator here for minimizing expenses, and we also have a debt elimination tool. So you enter all of your debt, and you enter your snowball money that you have available, and it shows you how to quickly eliminate your debt, which lowers your credit utilization. All right, so that's important and that's key. Again, this is a very, very thorough product. The difference between what this product is and from just going to a credit repair company is they're going to try to remove negatives from your credit report, and they probably will remove some negatives using the same strategies that we use to remove those negatives. But what they don't do is they don't focus on credit utilization, which is worth 30% of your credit score, and they don't show you how to do those types of things. They also don't show you how to go out and get new credit, to build new credit on top of the bad credit that you have, so that you can eventually sort of push that bad credit off to the side, and now you have new credit where you've been very responsible with. And so this is really, really key. We spent a lot of time making sure that all of the information was thorough within the Smart Money Kit. We use all of the laws so you can be assured that we're using the Fair Credit Reporting Act and all of the laws that go along with the letters that you see. So we've got all of that done for you. I mean, this is probably one of the most thorough credit do-it-yourself repair type of trainings that you'll ever come across. It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes worth of video. And again, once you're done with this training, you are going to be able to go out and fix and repair your credit. And I guarantee you within a year, you will see a significant improvement within your credit. So this tool will sell out to the general public for $99. We've got probably another week or two before we actually release this out to the general public. I'm going to let Cortez come back on and tell you how you can get it now. If you are an associate within the organization that offers this, you can actually have this credit repair right now. And the price is pretty good for you to become an associate and be able to not only have it to fix your own credit, but then you can position yourself to be able to sell it to other people as well. And so the commission on this will be $50 if you sell it. So if you become a member of the company, you can pay for your membership by selling this and fixing your own credit at the same time.